In 2019, archaeologists pulled something from the soil of western Idaho, something that should not exist. Stone tools, perfectly crafted and at least 16,000 years old. That's 3,000 years before Clovis, 3,000 years before anyone was supposed to be here. For decades, every textbook told the same story. The first Americans crossed a frozen land bridge, walked through an ice-free corridor, and arrived around 13,000 years ago. That was the accepted truth, until this site proved it wrong. And when scientists tested the DNA of the earliest Americans, they didn't find what they expected. They found something that changes everything we thought we knew. The place is called Cooper's Ferry. It sits along the Salmon River in the remote wilderness of western Idaho. For thousands of years, this quiet stretch of land kept a secret buried beneath its surface. In 1997, archaeologist Lauren Davis began excavating. What started as a routine dig slowly became something historic. Layer by layer, Davis and his team uncovered stone tools, animal bone fragments, and fire pits. At first, the findings seemed consistent with known timelines, but radiocarbon dating told a different story. The deepest artifacts weren't 13,000 years old. They were between 15,000 and 16,000 years old. Some estimates pushed even older. This was a direct challenge to everything mainstream archaeology believed, because if humans lived in Idaho 16,000 years ago, then the entire model of American migration collapses, and the mystery only deepened when they looked closer at the tools themselves. For nearly a century, one theory dominated. It was called Clovis first, named after a site in Clovis, New Mexico, where distinctive stone spear points were found in the 1920s. These points were beautifully crafted, sharp, symmetrical, deadly, and they dated to roughly 13,000 years ago. For decades, Clovis was the oldest confirmed human presence in the Americas. Scientists believed a single group crossed from Siberia into Alaska over a land bridge called Beringia. They waited for glaciers to melt, then walked south through an ice-free corridor between massive ice sheets. They became the ancestors of all Native Americans. This was the official story. It was taught in schools, printed in textbooks, treated as fact. But there was always a problem. The ice-free corridor wasn't actually passable until around 14,000 years ago. So how did people reach Idaho 16,000 years ago? Some researchers asked this question. They were mostly ignored until Cooper's Ferry made it impossible to look away. The tools found there weren't Clovis points. They were something else entirely, something older, and their design pointed to a shocking origin. When Davis examined the stone tools from Cooper's Ferry, he noticed something unusual. The craftsmanship didn't match any known North American tradition. Instead, the style closely resembled tools found on the other side of the Pacific, in Japan, specifically tools created by an ancient culture known as the Jomon. The Jomon lived in Japan as far back as 16,000 years ago. They were seafaring people, skilled hunters, expert tool makers, and their stone points looked almost identical to those buried in Idaho soil. This suggested something radical. What if the first Americans didn't walk across Beringia and down through Canada? What if they traveled by boat, hugging the Pacific coastline, moving from Asia along the Aleutian Islands, down the coast of Alaska, British Columbia, and into the Pacific Northwest? This is now called the Kelp Highway hypothesis, and it explains how humans could have reached Idaho long before the ice-free corridor opened, because the coastline was navigable, rich in marine resources, and free of glacial barriers. The evidence was compelling, but it wasn't enough. To truly rewrite history, scientists needed something more. They needed DNA. Here's a question I want you to think about. If the first Americans came by boat from Japan or East Asia, what happened to their coastal settlements? Why haven't we found more evidence along the Pacific shore? Drop your theory in the comments. I want to hear what you think. In the last 2 decades, genetic science has transformed archaeology. Ancient DNA testing allows researchers to trace human migration with incredible precision. And when scientists applied these techniques to the earliest Americans, the results shattered old assumptions. Studies of ancient remains from sites across North and South America revealed something unexpected. The genetic ancestry of indigenous peoples didn't trace cleanly to a single Siberian population. Instead, the genomes showed connections to multiple East Asian groups, including populations that once lived in coastal regions of China, Korea, and yes, Japan. One groundbreaking study examined the genomes of individuals dating back more than 12,000 years. It found that early Americans descended from a previously unknown population that split from East Asians around 25,000 years ago. This ancestral group wasn't landlocked. They lived near water. They were adapted to coastal life, and their descendants made the journey across the Pacific, not in one wave, but in multiple waves over thousands of years. Some traveled along the coast. Others may have crossed the open ocean using basic seafaring technology. This aligns perfectly with Cooper's Ferry, its age, the style of its tools, the location along a major river connected to the Pacific. Everything fits. But one mystery remained. If the early settlers reached Idaho 16,000 years ago, what happened to them? This is where the story gets haunting, because the people who settled Cooper's Ferry didn't leave a continuous record. Their genetic signature doesn't dominate modern Native American DNA. Instead, later waves of migration seem to have replaced or absorbed them. By the time Clovis culture emerged around 13,000 years ago, the original coastal settlers may have been pushed to the margins, or they merged with newcomers, their distinct identity fading into a larger population. Some researchers believe environmental catastrophe played a role. Around 12,800 years ago, Earth experienced a sudden climate event. Temperatures plummeted, megafauna went extinct, coastlines shifted as ice sheets melted, entire ecosystems vanished, and with them, possibly, the last traces of the first Americans. The people who built Cooper's Ferry may have been caught in this chaos. Their settlements, now underwater below ancient coastlines we can no longer access, their story buried beneath centuries of newer arrivals, until archaeologists started digging in Idaho and found the proof that refused to stay hidden. So here's what I'm left wondering. If there were people here before Clovis, were there people even before Cooper's Ferry? Could there be sites even older, submerged beneath the Pacific, waiting to be discovered? What do you believe? Tell me in the comments. The textbooks told us one story, the Earth told us another, and DNA revealed what really happened. The first Americans weren't a single group crossing a frozen bridge. They were explorers, seafarers, survivors of an unimaginable journey across the largest ocean on the Earth. And Cooper's Ferry is just the beginning. Because if we were wrong about who arrived first, what else have we missed? That's what I'll be exploring in the next video. A discovery even older, even more controversial, and it might explain why certain ancient American sites are being kept quiet. If you want to see that one, make sure you're subscribed. And if this changed how you see American history, share it with someone who still believes the old story. They deserve to know the truth, too.